Hello, so here we're going to hear an update, breaking news regarding Warner Brothers chairman, his views about the second offer that Paramount has put in has been rejected, and they believe that the offer from Netflix is far superior. So let's hear it.
It again, of course, Sam DiPiazza is the chairman of Warner Brothers. He joined me on the first time we got a 14D9 from the company explaining its thinking as to why it was sticking with the Netflix deal. You joined me again, and I very much appreciate it. Thank you, Sam.
Yeah, thank you for having us.
All right, let's get into it. What this time, Paramount addressed a lot of what you and I discussed the last time you were sitting here, namely the lack of a personal guarantee from Larry Ellison. But you seem to have, at least in their opinion, come up with any number of other objections. What, at the heart of them, is the case here that you're making as to why you continue to reject Paramount's offer?
Well, again, thank you for having us here. Let's start with the fact that we have a signed merger agreement with Netflix. It's a compelling value, a clear path to closing, and protections for our shareholders if something stops the close, whatever that might be. Yes, Larry Ellison stepped up to the table, and the board recognizes what he did. And that was a major change in their position. But you asked me the question when we were together before. What if Larry Ellison guarantees the debt, increases his price? What are you going to do? Well, and I think I answered the question this way. The equity was critically important. But there were other matters, not just the break fee, the $2.8 billion that we're going to incur, but the operating opportunities, the refinancings that we have to do. There were significant other issues that we were going to have to deal with. And ultimately, he didn't raise the price.
So what he's basically saying here is that the main contention here is this whole protection aspect, right? Protection fee. And Discovery, basically, if the acquisition by Netflix essentially collapses due to regulatory intervention, for example, there's a substantial $5.8 billion break fee to be paid by Netflix, right? So he's basically saying that there's a massive breakup fee as a protection to Warner Brothers shareholders if the deal with Netflix does not go through. But regarding Paramount, they have not offered anything. He's also added to the point that their offer is not an improved price in the offer. So there's some contention where he's saying it's not actually superior even to their first deal that they made.
So in our perspective, Netflix continues to be the superior offer, a clear path to closing, and we believe protection for our shareholders. We all know, and I think I also said it that day, a deal's great. Closing's better.
Closing's better, there's no doubt. And there are plenty of people, though, who believe that Netflix may be in a more difficult position to close, Sam, than is Paramount, in part because of objections of European regulators. You clearly don't believe that to be the case. Why not?
Well, I think we continue to believe that both of these deals have a path to be approved by the DOJ, by courts, by Europe, by the UK, by LATAM. They both, and I think the word I used last time was that we were highly confident that they could get approved. We also understand that both of these deals could have challenges. You're merging studios. You're going to have a huge linear business in the P-Sky transaction that will dominate distributors. And you've got streaming being combined. So the board's job is to look and say, can these things get done? And if they don't get done, what happens?
So he's essentially looking at, I think due to any merger acquisitions, it's always good to look at, okay, the end game. If the acquisition goes through, what are the shareholders going to get? What's the offer? What's the pricing, so on and so forth. But he's also, because of the magnitude, because of the size of the deal, he's also taken into consideration what happens if it doesn't. So what's the worst case scenario? So he's looked at what is the protection for shareholders. As we mentioned, there's a massive breakup fee if it doesn't go through that Netflix will pay. But with Paramount, there's a smaller payout, right? He's also looking with the whole situation with the DOJ. He's looking at the Paramount deal could basically have restricted the operations pre-closing, potentially not closed, damaging shareholder value. That's what he's looking at. Then Netflix's structure offers more of a cleaner path that he's saying, with fewer risk covenants in place. And then if you take a look at Netflix's offer is backed by a large investment grade balance sheet, right? In terms of the balance sheet they have with a clear financing plan. But on that side, Paramount is more of a heavy debt play financed by the board, viewed as more of a riskier play. So he's taken into consideration all of these different areas. And this is what you do, what you should do, because it's a fiduciary duty to be able to look out for your shareholders.
And because a lot of these deals find regulatory challenge. And we think it can get done, but we have to be prepared for what happens if it doesn't.
And that gets back to some of your objections here in terms of what you say are the liabilities that will be taken on by the company, that is Warner Brothers, and if in fact the Paramount deal didn't happen, would reduce the reverse break fee to a point where it's not worth it.
But David, in the large majority of cases, when an overbidder comes in, they take that break fee and pay it.
Why didn't they make it clear? Have you asked them to make it clear in terms of the $2.8 billion?
No, we're not in dialogue with them.
You're not in dialogue. Have you spoken to David Ellison at all?
We are.
Of late?
You understand this probably better than anybody. There's serious restrictions.
There are.
In conversations. We have a signed deal with Netflix.
But if you were to believe it could lead to a...
So it's even clear. They have a signed deal with Netflix. Paramount is trying to gazump to essentially... prevent that deal with Netflix going through by making an offer. But obviously, as they have a signed deal, Warner Brothers with Netflix, they can't have conversations with Paramount, right? So it seems that they're just sticking to their guns. Also, you need to take into consideration from the employee's perspective regarding the stability, yes? So Netflix more or less are essentially looking at avoiding massive disruptions regarding like layoffs, operational paralysis, that can result in basically the takeover fold. But with Paramount's aspect, if Paramount bid closes, they might essentially consider cost cutting and restructuring. So these are also the things that you have to look at the welfare of the employees as well.
Superior proposal. It doesn't even need to be superior.
We have to start the process.
And you've chosen not to.
But we haven't decided that it would lead to a superior. They had that opportunity in the 7th proposal, the 8th proposal, and they haven't done it. And so, from our perspective, they've got to put something on the table that is compelling and is superior.
But I do wonder, and Andrew raised this earlier, with the new objection, Sam, that you're focusing on, the idea of just of the leverage of the combined company that is Paramount and Warner Brothers, and the fact that, at least as you guys say, sometimes you see that risk inherent in an LBO structure exacerbated by the amount of debt and the fact that sometimes financing sources can go away on you.
So what you need to take a look here, I know you're going to go on is quiet, so we're going to basically just stop here. But I think looking at the bigger picture, what you need to take into consideration for the industry perspective and understand the strategic model and the wins for the future of media. You know, more or less Netflix is more streaming first, right? They have global services. They have a huge, massive content library. Paramount's perspective is more full legacy TV, streaming, distribution bundle, right? So the board's stance basically signals confidence that essentially Netflix's strategy is more sustainable, long-term. They see the growth. They understand they're not going to be looking at cost-cutting, heavy debt load, massive layoffs, right? Content strategy, investment across the board. So they can see that if the deal goes through with Netflix, they're going to be in good hands, essentially. And I think that's really important also for the welfare of the existing stakeholders as well. So if you like this type of information, we talk about money, everything to do with investments, acquisitions, budgeting, savings, layoffs, government debt. So if you're interested, please like, please subscribe, please comment. We just started. We want to be able to grow the channel, and we'll do that with your help. Thank you.